Hello. I can see nothing. I'm gonna call my brother in arms. He's called Mr. Jameri. We want to do a little song, and then we can start and talk. They promised a campfire, so I thought it was gonna be around outside. So I didn't let my imagination run very wild. Ndugu yangu we, usiwe na shaka, mimi niko kitakalotokea, nitakusaidia. Matatizo ni ya kila mtu, hayakuarifu yanapotokea, nitakusaidia. Ndugu yangu mimi, matatizo nimezoea. Kwangu mimi, naona ni kawaida, You're free to clap. Just a bit, okay? Ndugu yangu we, usiwe na shaka, mimi niko kitakalotokea, nitakusaidia wewe. Kwangu mimi, naona ni kawaida. Yaliponipata, wengi walicheka sana. Kwangu mimi, naona ni kawaida, So that song is called Matatizo Nimeyazoea by a Tanzanian artist called Issa Juma. And it used to play in my mom's house, my mom and my parents' house when I was growing up. And I thought it was one of the worst songs I'd ever heard. Simply because, okay, the tempo is very fast. Like it's not like meditative. You're not thinking about it. It's like matatizo nimeyazoea. So guys are dancing to it. But like as I grew up, last year I went to River Road. We did a trip with Wanuri, And we went to River Road, and I was looking for that track because, like, it just moves me. But now I was interested in finding out who wrote it and why he wrote it and why, like, just the story behind it. And so this guy, he wrote the song in 1984. And it's like he knew, he was telling a story, but he knew what was going to happen to him in the future. So he was talking about matatizo nimeyazoea, but in terms of his life, he was living it because he died of a stroke, and towards the end of his, like when his career started dwindling, he spent like a couple of months in jail for working without a permit. I thought musicians were supposed, I didn't know that you're supposed to ask for permission too. And so it's always very interesting to me because right now we are doing music that seems to be out of place in terms of the Kenyan context, like where did it come from? But I've spent a lot of time looking at old Kenyan musicians, and a lot of urban musicians were very influenced by Western sounds. Like a lot of bands in the 70s in Kenya were had a very funk-based sound. So you'd hear like a band like Afro Fiesta Matata, but they sound like they were soaked in James Brown. So we're not the first to do stuff that seems to be outside of what we're used to, and I don't think we'll be the last, because there's been people who've gone before us and done a lot of cool stuff. But my biggest concern about the Kenyan scene has always been why it reaches a point where we don't have, like, the musicians who've been doing very cool stuff. It reaches a point where they're not doing stuff anymore. Whereas like a place like Nigeria has their fellas, South Africa has their Hugh Masekela, all these other, a lot of these other countries, Manu Dibango is still doing stuff. Where are the Kenyan old acts? And because a lot of times you hear people talking about the youth and the music that they're doing and it has no direction. But if you look at it keenly, there's not a lot of musicians that we can look up to. I think Eric is the oldest urban musician. And there's the Kamarus and the Mushrooms. But in terms of, what I'm talking about is in terms of that they're still doing stuff right now that is relevant to us to an extent. Like they did stuff back then, but they're not doing stuff right now. And so that's a concern for me, and I'm always curious as to how we're going to do it, because I feel like we need to build a community where artists can be free to do what it is they want to do for the rest of their lives. If we do not provide that environment, then we're going to have this thing that Kenyan music always does, where it starts and it stops and it starts and it stops and it starts and it stops, but we don't have a bearing as to where we are necessarily going. So that is my talk. Thank you very much.